Welcome back to this explainer on the WBE Trader Psychology Sessions. Today we're diving deep into the mindset behind profitable trading, and we're looking at what is arguably the single most important concept from Mark Douglas's legendary book, The Disciplined Trader. We're talking about responsibility. And honestly, this concept right here is the missing puzzle piece. It literally explains why so many incredibly talented individuals stay stuck in this frustrating cycle of unprofitability, sometimes for years.
So I want to ask you directly, why do you think you might be struggling right now? Take a second and really think about it. Most traders automatically assume the problem is their strategy. They think, oh, I just need a better indicator, or I need a tighter entry, or I need a completely new setup. But what if I told you the strategy isn't the issue at all? The real problem, the thing holding you back, is actually how you respond emotionally to the act of trading itself.
Okay, let's jump right into our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to dissect the blame game trap. Then we'll look at the illusion of certainty, weigh emotion versus execution, examine the real-life cost of these emotional errors, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with actionable steps in the Discipline Playbook.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the blame game trap, or how you are actively giving away your power.
Now, let's be real for a second and totally validate how you might be feeling. Trading absolutely feels personal sometimes. You enter this beautifully planned trade, and literally the next second, the price rips right against you. It feels like the market is specifically hunting your stop loss, right? Well, that emotional reaction is exactly the trap. When we feel that sting of failure, our immediate human instinct is to point the finger. We blame the market, we blame manipulation, prop firms, our indicators, our mentors, liquidity, the news. Basically, we blame everything and everyone except ourselves.
But Mark Douglas hit the nail on the head with this core philosophy. The moment you stop taking responsibility is the moment you stop growing. Here is the brutal, hard truth. The market isn't targeting you. The market doesn't even know you exist. So projecting your own failures onto the market, that only guarantees you'll stay stuck.
Which brings us smoothly to Section 2, the illusion of certainty and our desperate human need for control.
We really need to talk about why the human brain struggles so much to accept losses. Because losing a trade doesn't automatically mean you have a bad strategy, and it doesn't mean your analysis was garbage. Amateurs hold on to this toxic secret belief. They think, if I just analyze the charts enough, I shouldn't lose. But professionals, they live in a completely different reality. They deeply understand uncertainty, randomness, and probabilities. They know for a fact that you can execute a trade perfectly, exactly to your plan, and absolutely still lose.
It's this desperate craving for absolute certainty that creates total disaster. When you expect certainty, a loss doesn't just hurt your wallet, it causes severe emotional pain. And to avoid that discomfort, traders trigger all sorts of destructive, reactive behaviors. This is exactly where revenge trading, overtrading, sliding your stop losses wider, and doubling down all start. At that point, you aren't trading the chart anymore, my friend. You're just trading to avoid your own emotions.
Moving right along to Section 3, emotion versus execution, and making sure we're judging ourselves on the right metrics.
You see, responsibility means shifting your entire focus away from the outcomes you simply can't control and aiming it completely at your personal execution. After a trade closes, amateurs always ask the wrong question. They ask, did the market behave the way I wanted? But a professional asks the right question, did I follow my rules? That is a massive, game-changing paradigm shift.
And that shift creates two completely different species of traders. The reactive trader is entirely controlled by their emotions. They spiral into fear, greed, frustration, and ego the second a trade goes red. But the responsible, disciplined trader, they're controlled purely by their process. It's a night and day difference. When they take a loss, they don't spiral. They calmly review their risk management, confirm they followed their setup, and if they did, they accept the outcome and move on to the next one.
I know this is incredibly difficult because, as humans, we instinctively attach our self-worth to our results. Douglas points out that when a trader feels like losing means I'm stupid, they're going to emotionally defend themselves instead of actually learning from the mistake. When you tie your ego directly to your P&L, you will instinctively avoid taking responsibility just because the truth of the loss hurts your pride too much.
Let's make this super concrete in Section 4, the real-life cost, and look at the actual anatomy of a mistake.
I want to get deeply personal here and walk through a painfully real example that I guarantee almost every single person listening has lived through. Walk step by step through this classic disaster with me. Step 1. The trader enters early, no real confirmation. Step 2. the trade goes negative. And instead of taking the small, planned loss like a pro, they move their stop loss wider. Step 3, they take a massive hit. And what do? They blame the market. Think about the ridiculous irony there. They blame the market for the bigger loss when they were the ones who manually broke their own rule and dragged the stop.
Oh, and here's another one that really hits home. Step 1, the trader hits their predefined daily loss limit. Step 2, their ego refuses to accept it, so they start revenge trading to make it back. Step 3, they blow the entire account. Step 4, they slam their laptop shut and tell their trading buddies, "Man, the market was just trash today." No way. We have to call out that lie. Trace that sequence backward. The blown account was a direct 100% result of the trader's total lack of emotional control, not some trash market condition.
Okay, so how do we actually fix this? Let's pivot to Section 5, the Discipline Playbook, with some highly actionable steps. I'm going to hit you with a rapid-fire sequence of 5 rules to help you build real emotional maturity, and you can start these this week. Action item 1, journal your emotions. Because awareness creates improvement, you've got to aggressively log your emotional state after every session. Don't just jot down your entry and exit prices. Ask yourself, what was I feeling today? Was it fear, the urge for revenge, hesitation, blind overconfidence? You literally cannot fix an emotional leak if you refuse to track it.
Action item 2, stop blaming the market. Right now, I'm challenging you to completely delete phrases like, "the market screwed me," from your vocabulary. Replace it with the ultimate mirror check question, did I follow my process? Once you start owning your execution, your discipline, and your emotional state, the whole game changes. Action item 3, accept losses faster. You have to remind yourself every single day that losses are just a statistical cost of doing business. A perfectly executed, beautiful trade can still lose money, and a terrible, rule-breaking, impulsive trade can actually win. That is exactly why you have to judge your execution over the final monetary outcome.
Action item 4, create daily rules. Look, motivation is fantastic, but discipline needs rigid structure to survive live market conditions. Setting non-negotiable hard limits is absolutely essential to protect your capital from yourself. You need a max number of trades per day, a hard max daily loss limit, a zero-tolerance policy for revenge trading, and mandatory stop losses on every single position, no exceptions.
Finally, action item 5, review your execution weekly. I really want you to stop obsessing over your weekly profits and start reviewing your emotional control. Ask yourself, did I stick to the plan? Did I stay emotionally neutral? Did I get impulsive? Endlessly checking your P&L doesn't build consistency, but ruthlessly reviewing your execution absolutely does.
So, what does this all mean? The core transformation of this entire explainer comes down to this big lesson right here. Your job is not to control the market. Your job is to control yourself. Profitable trading only begins the exact moment you stop expecting the market to make you feel comfortable. The market is naturally chaotic and uncertain. Responsibility is simply having the emotional maturity to navigate it.
I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on before your next session. Are you trying to control the market, or are you actually controlling yourself? Be really honest with your answer. Start taking emotional ownership today, because the second trading becomes personal, discipline completely disappears. Protect your capital, protect your mindset, and always trade with intention. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and keep mastering that discipline mindset.